On January 20th, 2025, at the President Donald Trump inauguration, Elon Musk did a bizarre, to say the least, gesture that was all too reminiscent of an infamous political movement of the recent past. It doesn't help him that he's now associated with Donald Trump, who has been associated in the zeitgeist with either the second coming of Adolf Hitler or an over-exaggerated connection, either way. Those on the left are definitely screaming, "Ah, hail nah," now, while those on the right are sort of giving strange excuses for or strange rationale, to be softer about it, reasons for the gesture. I personally don't buy the autism excuse because he's never acted in this fashion before. He's always been the cool guy smoking with Joe Rogan or movie star dating Amber Heard, or to double on that, he's even been associated as a super high intellect tech genius to the same caliber of Tony Stark from Iron Man, to where he's even got a cameo in those movies. So there's this association with him for, he's got a lot of different hats, I could say, but there's definitely an association of competent, someone who is actually able to run a business and come up with innovative technology and approaches, and that one day he was going to save everybody with his electric vehicles. Personally, I think all the world's a stage, and that these archetypes are being propped up for a reason, for reaction. No other hand gesture or movement would have elicited the response that it did, especially associated with the folks that he is. I would even wager that flipping the bird would have been more well received. But aside from the media getting us to bigger, the classic divide and conquer, he's a Nazi, no, he's autist. Doesn't that sound ridiculous already? There are a number of interesting and weird connections between Elon Musk and another famous American figure of rocketry, and that is Wernher von Braun. Stay with us as we go diving into this subject on this episode of Apocalypsis Historia. In 2018, I did a video on Operation Paperclip, which is an infamous effort by the U.S. government to scoop up Nazi rocket scientists and engineers and a ton of other technical disciplines. And a big chunk of this video was dedicated to Wernher von Braun and other Nazi rocket scientists like Arthur Rudolph and Walter Dornberger, who all worked for NASA and other affiliates. And this all detailed their relocation over to the United States after World War II. Men like Wernher von Braun were instrumental to the V-2 rocket program in Germany, which, aside from the casualties caused by the rockets themselves, like Allied soldiers at the Rex Cinema, or civilian Ivy Millicamp, who was doing laundry in her home when a rocket screamed down on her head, the human labor required to build these weapon systems at sites like Middlework included death numbers higher than what the rockets themselves could claim. So many of these figures circumvented efforts to get them to war trials, with different factions within the United States government either attempting to hinder or help these efforts. Is the American pride of landing on the moon worth all the lives that it cost at those POW camps to build these prototypes? Or because we didn't want to let the Russians get their hands on them? Questions for another day. The notable point, aside from the rocketry connection between Wernher von Braun and Elon Musk, is a novel that Wernher von Braun wrote in the late 1940s called Project Mars, a Technical Tale, and it eerily predicts a lot of our cultural landscape. Project Mars, a Technical Tale by Wernher von Braun, translated by Henry J. White, written in 1948 and published in translation in 1953, is a science fiction story encapsulating calculations and arguments to show practicality of manned missions to Mars and a Mars colony. It's a highly technical novel full of engineering jargon and equations. It somewhat reminds me of that book The Martian I stomached through the ears some years ago. The Martian society described in von Braun's novel also shares a number of eerie similarities to that of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. The premise to Project Mars is that there is finally peace on Earth after a final world war between the West and East finishes, which is mainly accomplished through the domination of a orbiting nuke-launching satellite dubbed Luneta, so that, quote, "At last the ancient prejudices and selfish insistence upon national sovereignty were no more. And so Luneta had become the goddess of a new strong peace, which was to deliver mankind from the morass of the foregoing century. Oh, and there's also this quasi-CIA world parachute police that are going to come down and clandestinely G.I. Joe, quote, reduce to rubble any community which refuses to obey the verdict of the Congress. Peace at last, indeed. So with the peace of a one-world totalitarian government firmly established on Earth, the humans can finally get their act together and head to Mars, where they can explore their signs of civilization there. Oh, and the official military branch in this novel written in the 1950s is actually called Space Force, which, of course, is another connection to Trump, as he is the one who actually signed into existence the Space Force military branch. So it ends up some scientists make it to Mars, and they'll meet the Martians, and the Martians are technologically advanced, and they'll tell the humans that they're so backwards and they have a lot of catching up to do. Oh, so typical humans. And this transitions nicely from a piece I just did on Brave New World, where I see a lot of the same technocratic ethos permeating both works as far as the military top-down structure of society goes, but maybe Huxley is a little more critical of it, maybe. And there seems to be a big focus on targeting elementary sex education for whatever reason. That's a big thing in Brave New World, where I showed the scene of kids in elementary school, essentially 8 years old, that are hearing subliminal brainwashing Clockwork Orange recordings over and over again. Apparently they had a lesson of elementary sex, and then it moves on to elementary caste systems or something. But in a technical tale, the Martians also describe about how they enlightening the children at a tender age as to the physiological and medical aspects of sex. And it is claimed that such biological enlightenment protects and strengthens the morality of youth. Not a word is said to them of the ethical aspects of love, nor of any factor which might awaken in those children respect for the divine mysteries of propagation of the race and of birth. And there's not a word on ethical aspects of love or respect for divine mysteries of propagation and race and birth. It is very similar to the structure of the Huxleyan Brave New World insofar as that everyone is, quote, everybody is for everybody. They are all grown in test tubes with no concepts of parents or families. There is a release from attachment so as to neuter potentiality for strife, a trade of the soul for stability. This motif of underage sex seems to be reoccurring a lot with this technocrat stuff. Maybe think on Elon Musk's father, Elon Musk, who has actually had children with his own stepdaughter. More on him in a minute. And as I argued in the Oh Brave New World Order video, that the technocrats seem very focused on trying to remove the aspects of humanity to cure humanity's problems. You see the problem in this logic? And we'll get a scene of where the von Braunian Martians are going to explain to the Earthlings that they'll be able to get on their technological level as long as they, quote, pay the price of leveling consumer goods, which is followed by a general leveling of taste, mode, and even of human attitudes. Quote, here on our venerable and wary planet, we have moved far ahead of your youthful Earth towards manumission of our slaves by technology. The difficulties you are presently encountering have a familiar ring in the ears of Martian historians, for we too have suffered them. But you may be assured that you will also master those difficulties, not, of course, without paying a certain price for the freedom thus achieved. This price, in a part, will consist in the leveling of consumer goods, which is followed by a general leveling of tastes, mode, and even of human attitudes. These inevitable concomitants of the technical age affect sensitive souls, as does cruel tyranny. It is the luxuriant glory of a jungle flowers being transmuted into an orderly garden where each plant is assigned its place in accordance with its size, its color, and its form. No longer is it privileged to grow according to its own sweet will. To me, the manumission of humanity is well worth the price. By essentially limited by who, the human consumption, expression, and creativity, it will alter our tastes for bugs, so as to focus on collected efforts of star grasping. Amid the cries of sensitive souls who lament soul-crushing progress, humanity can transmute the wild and untamely man from a jungle flower to an orderly garden, where each plant is assigned its place in accordance with its size, color, and form. perfect order. This can be achieved through technocracy, defined by Britannica as, quote, government by technicians who are guided solely by the imperatives of their technology. This is the world that von Braun and Elon Musk dream of. It also sounds a lot like the Judge Holden character from Blood Meridian. And I think it's that last sentence that's especially harrowing. No longer is it, or man, privileged to grow according to its own sweet will. To me, who, von Braun, Elon? The manumission of humanity is well worth the price. And I think it's that last line that has some doublespeak baked into it. Are we talking about a freedom for humanity or a freedom from humanity? A release from the being of human to solve the problem. And the big notable connection in this novel is that the president of this Mars civilization is called the Elon. So what are the odds that a mainstream public figure associated with rockets and Mars expeditions is named after elements from a novel written several decades prior? Astronomical, to stay on theme? And what are the additional chances that this public figure is actually associated, potentially, allegedly, with the same political movement that the novel's writer was associated with? And I saw a tweet from January 26th, just a few days ago, where Elon Musk is asking how can this be real, but it's not really that coincidental. Elon Musk's father, Elon Musk, has literally admitted that that's where he got the name from this technical Mars sci-fi novel written by an ex-Nazi. So first he's deliberately named after a Nazi technocrat character, and then he's associated now with Trump's political movement, and now on top of that, he's throwing the questionable gesture associated with that infamous political movement. Doesn't look good, y'all. And this technocratic wet dream of a hyper-controlled society unburdened by human customs and traditions has more connections to Elon Musk. Elon's grandfather, Joshua H. Haldeman, was involved with Technocracy Incorporated and the wider technocracy movement. Now pair this with Elon Musk calling himself the techno king of Tesla. In my opinion, Elon Musk is not real. Not real in the way that we perceive him on the public stage. He's a shapeshifter, liar, actor. And if he's been caught lying about something so silly like playing a video game, why would he not be lying about something with higher stakes? Elon Musk is from a blue blood nepotistic network of an oily tentacled machine. The richest man didn't stumble into a treasure vault without a map and a team of servants to help. And I hope that character Russ Cole has broken free of Pizzolatto and McConaughey's grasp and actually transcends mere memeage into representation of authentic skepticism when we hear lines such as, "This sort of thing doesn't happen in a vacuum." You are seeing what you're seeing. Don't let yourself be gaslighted into believing it's something that you're not. That is a very slippery slope. You need to believe and trust your eyes as best as you can until otherwise shown. And question your political ties. Question your own presumptions about things. Question the motives and the archetypes that are deeper in other levels of everything we see on the public stage. Don't let this theater poison your heart, because that's exactly the point of these sort of operations. Divide and conquer. And I think there's more to this fascistic dictator resurgence going on here, but I think that extends beyond the scope of this video. I just wanted to point out all the metadata between these claims of Nazi socialism and Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I wasn't a person that was really screaming that during Trump's first time because it's not always properly applied, but I would like more people talking about this other stuff. How do you make heads or tails of any of this information? But let it stand. I think that, yes, there's a large psychological operation underway, and that much of what we see in the public arena is a choreographed dance. I used footage from Stanley Kubrick's amazing Dr. Strangelove in my video from 7 years ago, and I think it's even more apt than it was then. So I hope you all enjoy it. We'll cut off here. See you on the next video, and as always, nullius in verba.
Well, I would hate to have to decide who stays up and who goes down.
Well, that would not be necessary, Mr. President. Could easily be accomplished with a computer. And the computer could be set and programmed to accept factors from youth, health, sexual fertility, intelligence, and a cross-section of necessary skills.
You mentioned the ratio of 10 women to each man. Wouldn't that necessitate the abandonment of the so-called monogamous sexual relationship? I mean, as far as men were concerned.
Regrettably, yes. But it is, a sacrifice required for the future of the human race.